All right, welcome to officially the 22nd day of the TradeFlow competition. We are really getting close to the end. This is pretty much where I was quite confident that I could take the lead in the next couple of days, especially with the close of yesterday, right? So if I showcase just kind of the days that we had before, we played up until that H4 proximal line. If you haven't seen the previous video of my entire pyramid stack of shorts, make sure to check that out because that is where I explain how I aggressively pyramided all the way until the H4 proximal line. And then this Tuesday, from this Tuesday into the Wednesday, again, you've seen every position that I've taken this entire competition. You've seen exactly how I execute what I classify as A+ setups, B+ setups, pretty much. The ones that are higher probability and the ones where you can be a little bit more forgiving, let's say, with your entries because you've got momentum. You've got that momentum in the back to help you really push towards those shorts. In that case, right? Because we were waiting for price to pull back week 1, week 2. I had a couple longs and then pretty much end of week 2 into week 3, it was bang on shorts the whole time, which was great. This Wednesday, midweek. So I want you guys to start kind of focusing on where you are in terms of price fractality. We've talked about fractality a bit as well, just in general. But I also want you guys to just get a little bit more familiar with how that works, right? On Mondays, if we're printing highs on the week on Monday and you do have momentum, odds of flipping the week are slim. Likewise, if you do print, let's say, high of the week on a Tuesday, Wednesday, you're expecting a classic sell-off day on a Thursday and potentially a continuation on a Friday. But if you don't, then on Fridays, usually you will have, let's say, a retracement into that leg and vice versa. It's just kind of things like start being aware of how price works. Odds, right? Statistically, not even statistically, just being realistic with yourself. If there's no fundamental catalyst on those days, such as a CPI, FOMC, NFP, ADP, Michigan, when it comes to US data releases, or European CPIs in the AM, understand that if there are no catalysts in that week and you're already very far off, that you shouldn't be expecting previous daily highs to be flipped if you're short-sighted bearish momentum. And that's exactly kind of what we did here, right? We're in such a bearish move, right? This entire leg, if you understand where we got in, right? Off of that Monday, this was my entire short setup, right? Going all the way. This one, bang, 1, 2, going into pretty much this entire back pocket, 3, 4 Tuesday, adding up on that Friday, right where it all started. This entire leg, I'm catching shorts, right? We open up the week here, Monday high of the week, very much intact. Tuesday, we are sprinting away from that, and now we finally hit a higher time frame array. So we could print potentially, and that's the thought process. If we print low of the week, right, and we now like distribute, retrace into that leg, how far are we pulling back? One, when do we hit that low of the week? We hit that here potentially, right? Potential low of the week. H4 proximal, we've officially tapped into that higher time frame array. What we're not anticipating here, you can see that there's a pullback, right? Doesn't follow through because all of this liquidity right here is still very much present. No higher time frame array, no H1, H4 to back off this movement. So what am I playing? What am I going to do that day? I am still executing aggressively intraday shorts, lower risk. So I've lowered my entire risk of this. So I had the backbone of this entire bearish leg. I don't have that anymore. So what I'm doing now is pretty much lowering my risk into the back end of that Wednesday, 22nd. Of October. Let me showcase you guys exactly what that looks like. Going into this, right, we understand that we went into M5 and you can see the setup is right there, right? The setup is right there. You should be able to see it. There are a couple of opportunities right here. Beautiful, right? For me, this is kind of like what I like to see. You can take this, you can take anything here realistically. And this is the first shift, right? This is the shift that we played. Also in AO, a couple guys that just weren't willing to take it, and that's okay. This setup right here, shorts into just Asia low. What I had, you know, this is a extremely aggressive SL, is covering this BPR right here, right? Just on ETF, that you make sure that you have something that you can cover right here, that if anything a price wants to love tap into that area, that you are safe, and then just wrap it up to 6.2 flat, and just like that. Because look, a 5 pip SL on a broker that has terrible spread, not my cup of tea. You can see this is where that H4 proximal is, and understand, for me, I'm shooting this like solid lots, half a lot. This was not a significant position for me, although this was a very good technical position and quite advanced in that sense. No M15, right? You're missing M15, nothing on M15. You have the world's small, no, you don't. You have an inverse imbalance, pretty much inverse FVG, whatever you want to call it here. Sliced displacement, sliced imbalance. That doesn't really do much for me. It's just that shift that holds. And then on M5, you got the continuation, right? That happens here, which some people manage to play. M15, M5 overlap into that low right here. And you can see, and this is something that I want you guys to note, this move continues, right? But notice how that H4 proximal right here does the reaction and Asia low does not, right? Why? Because that is your sensitive area. It's a higher time frame overlap. This was just a play that I wanted to play. To be honest, I personally didn't see anything else that I wanted to continue. Chipping away, there were guys that held it a lot longer than I did, going way lower and carrying this a lot lower than I did, especially with the second continuation that I want to show as well. Here you can see this is where I got greedy. You can already see what's about to happen. If this is your entire H4 right here, right, you can already tell what I'm about to mess up on. This was a blunder in that sense. So scaling out right here, scaling new position in to totally fresh position right here, off of this midpoint as such, off of the shoulder. We've seen that overlap many times. You're looking at order flow one more time, midpoint SL above this, and then what I wanted to see was distal, and that's the mistake that I made, right? Being a little bit too greedy, it got to me, and price tapped me out break even after the first partial, which was my midpoint right here. Mistake, yes, right? Potentially that was a mistake. That was just a flaw in my thinking. Happens. Am I upset about it? Absolutely not. Could have gotten a lot more out of it? Yes, definitely. But look, just look at these positions. I want you to guys just take a good look at these positions. Look how my execution time frame is compared to, like, I'm using all the information I have. I've got higher time frame narrative. I've got understanding of where my arrays are. I've got backing of H1, H4. I've got daily in my favor. There's an anti-vision created that there's no follow through to the upside just yet. So we need to go deeper in that H4 imbalance. And where is that going to be? Proximal, midpoint, distal. You split them up, and I was too greedy, way too greedy. And voila, yeah, you know, this happens. You can see beautiful E1 kind of just forming on M15 as well. Inducement of bullish arrays, right? You can see here. Sorry, inducement of bearish arrays forming bullish arrays. Order block being taken out, shift zone, whatever. Bullish imbalance being created right here. In that sense, as such, like that, and you can see that it then continues, and then potentially there was some sort of E2 that you could have played here, and another one even here if you were on M5 and you had your draw on liquidity higher, which I absolutely didn't. I was like so focused on this move down. I wanted it further. I wanted it to that distal line. Didn't get it, right? Price just closed around here. And then started to distribute into dead time, pulling back a little bit lower, and wrapping it up right there. I don't know why my Asia session isn't showing. There you go. So yeah, and then price just leaves the Wednesday pulling back, and that's that, right? So overall, I didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but I could have done many things a little bit better, in my opinion. And that's kind of just my honest opinion on this trade on this day as well, the 22nd day of the competition. But I'm very, very, very excited because this combination of these two, so the full TP and the partial and break even, chipped me towards second place. And yeah, I'm very, very, very content about that. So I'll see you guys in the next one.